Eskom boss Brian Molefe defends the parastatal's coal contract with Gupta-owned firm Tegeta. Nelson Mandela Bay and Ekhuruleni mayors outline ambitious proposals during their first multi-party council meetings. A very happy Wednesday to you. You're watching eNews Direct. I'm Duduzile Ramela.
And I'm Sandile Kangose. Good evening.
To comment on any of our stories, you can of course find us on Twitter and Facebook. That's at eNews Direct.
And tonight our hashtags are Eskom and Zimbabwe.
Eskom CEO Brian Molefe has defended the parastatal's contract for coal with the embattled Gupta family. Molefe says he has nothing to hide. He and Eskom chairperson Ben Ngubane appeared before Parliament's Public Enterprises Committee to present the power utility's annual report. However, Eskom spat with Treasury and the Guptas took centre stage.
Perhaps the Guptas have also captured the Treasury. I don't know.
I had nothing to do with the Guptas or with anybody else in terms of coming to the board of Eskom. Being publicly impugned as if one is a lekkie. I don't need to be a lekkie. I've served this country.
Despite a full year of no load shedding, Eskom and its contract for allegedly substandard coal from Tegeta, a Gupta-owned company, dominated proceedings. Molefe defended the contract, saying Eskom needed the coal urgently. He says the South African Bureau of Standards had approved it as decent quality and that they'd paid for it up front because that's standard practice. He says there's nothing wrong with doing business with the Guptas.
Not to do business with Tegeta would require us to blacklist them. And there is a process in the PFMA for blacklisting suppliers. And in terms of that process, we would have to inform them that we cannot do business with them and provide reasons why we would not be able to do business with them. And therein lies my problem. I do not know what the reasons are, other than gossip and innuendo.
It's this coal contract with Tegeta that's caused all the trouble. Treasury is investigating the deal and asked Eskom to provide it with information. It accused Eskom of deliberately not cooperating. But Molefe says this is utter nonsense.
There was no attempt on our part not to comply with the requirements from the National Treasury. In fact, if the Treasury had called us to come and do a warning statement, we would have gone.
Molefe says he believed the board had to okay its responses to Treasury first, and it was only meeting in September, hence the delay. Initially bristling with indignation and hurling insults at Treasury, Eskom CEO Brian Molefe left Parliament saying it had all been a big misunderstanding. He also defended the Guptas, saying they are very nice people, and described President Jacob Zuma as a lovely old man who likes to crack jokes. Annika Larson, Parliament.
Promises, targets and deadlines. Three things heard or said at the first multi-party council meetings in Ekhuruleni and Nelson Mandela Bay. But as expected, it wasn't smooth sailing in Port Elizabeth.
100 days to stop corruption, provide better basic services and create jobs. Well, that's the plan anyway. Athol Trollip believes he has grand ideas for Nelson Mandela Bay, but the ANC and some of the people who helped elect him were more concerned about his mayoral committee.
We were quietly disappointed and quite dismayed with that kind of a composition of mayoral committee, which is primarily male-dominated and also white-dominated. And I think our view is very clear that it's still promoting male supremacy and also white supremacy.
But Trollip hit back, defending those he appointed.
I selected these people on merit and on form. Form means that if you're a public representative and you take the issues of the people to heart and you work hard for those people, you'll be recognized.
Athol Trollip has come up with ambitious plans and set tight deadlines to improve conditions here. And while the DA is settling in Nelson Mandela Bay, the ANC is talking tough in Ekhuruleni.
The ANC is trying hard to save face after opposition parties raised concerns about the metro being plagued by corruption.
We want an independent institution that if any accusations are leveled against any transaction, will be able to act decisively outside even of that particular issue. So,
Zwandile Masina's vision for Ekhuruleni includes building 24-hour clinics, 100,000 houses and a university. The ANC is no doubt thinking about the future and does not want to lose grip of Ekhuruleni to the DA like it did Nelson Mandela Bay. So on paper, the governing party seems to be doing everything it can to win back the trust of residents in the metro. Should it slip up, the Democratic Alliance says it will be right there, waiting and watching. Sikelelwa Mdingi, Johannesburg.
A psychologist who allowed an unqualified person to do his job has been stripped of his license. The Health Professions Council of South Africa found that Anton Dreyer conducted subject choice tests on high school pupils for over 10 years. But instead of doing it himself, he allowed an unregistered person to conduct the psychometric tests.
For more than a decade, at least 14,000 pupils from both private and government schools went for psychometric tests every year. They thought it would put them on the right career path. What they didn't know was that it was being conducted by an unqualified person. And it's this man who gave the go-ahead. Anton Dreyer was found guilty of allowing this to happen under his watch. Philip Prinsloo, a former teacher, joined Anton Dreyer's company in 2006. That's when he met Adele du Plessis, Dreyer's associate.
I thought all the time, because it was a practice when I entered the business, that she was a psychologist as well, because she was taking down all the tests.
But Prinsloo soon realized something was amiss.
It's a 4.5-hour test. How do they expect the kids to carry on for 4.5 hours with one break? And they force these kids to go on. And in the meantime, you work with students from the disadvantaged group, and they suffer to read, so they can't complete the whole test.
Prinsloo confronted Dreyer.
He was arrogant because I warned him that was wrong, and he just carried on doing exactly the same thing.
The HPCSA found Dreyer guilty of bringing the profession into disrepute. It also revoked his license with immediate effect.
Anton Dreyer says an unqualified person conducted the psychometric tests only twice. He insists that less than 1,000 pupils were affected by this. He has rubbished arguments that thousands of learners were misguided. He plans to appeal the ruling. Leranzo Temba, Pretoria.
It's business as usual in Zimbabwe, well, at least that's according to the country's ambassador to South Africa. Earlier today, Ambassador Isaac Moyo came face-to-face with his fellow countrymen who marched to his residence.
Yet another protest by Zimbabwean nationals outside their embassy in Pretoria. It's in solidarity with the planned march back home.
So the thing is, we are concerned Zimbabweans who are staying in South Africa.
And it seems luck was on their side. Their ambassador came out to address them.
Can you please tell us what's happening in Zimbabwe? What is happening?
Well, today we have a very peaceful Zimbabwe. We are actually surprised that you guys are in the streets. Harare is working normally. The situation is peaceful. Obviously, there are some of our citizens, and I believe you belong to that group, that have reason to believe that certain things are not working the way you would want them to do. The government is listening.
Can I ask?
Can you just...
No, we cannot allow... We cannot allow the ambassador to pick this, we call it this nonsense. Because you know that our brothers and our fathers are being beaten back home.
You see nothing wrong with that. And then today there's actually a major shutdown, and it's the third one. And you're saying things are going on well in Zimbabwe. Everything is going on peacefully. People are working. No one is working in Zimbabwe because 90% of the people are actually unemployed. We are graduates here, but we have been reduced to be waitresses. Yet we are graduates. We have graduates in Zimbabwe who are selling airtime. Are you getting me, Mr. Ambassador? Do something about the country. Don't you say everything is okay? Apart from that, we are saying Mugabe must go. We are done with Mugabe.
But at the end, Moyo accepted the memorandum, promising to pass it on to the government. Malungi Lupui, Pretoria.
Further afield, Islamic State has confirmed that its chief strategist and spokesman has been killed in Syria. The U.S. said an airstrike had targeted Abu Muhammad al-Adnani, but did not give further details. Moscow has now said it's a Russian airstrike that killed him. Adnani's calls for attacks during Ramadan earlier this year led to mass bloodshed, including the Orlando nightclub shooting, the truck attack in Nice, and a massive suicide bombing in Baghdad. And Gabon's government has accused President Ali Bongo's challenger, Jean Ping, of trying to destabilize the country. In a statement made on Gabon TV, a spokesman also said former colonial power France is siding with Ping. Tensions are rising ahead of the announcement of the result of an election in which both sides are claiming victory. In the capital, Libreville, residents are reportedly stockpiling food and staying indoors. That's in anticipation of a repeat of violence that followed the disputed 2009 poll.
Let's bring in Tutuzile for all of his social media now.
Thank you so much, Sandile. An exam venue at the University of KwaZulu-Natal's Pietermaritzburg campus was set alight early this morning. The attack comes amid protests by students who are demanding representation on the university's executive committee. Students have also complained about tuition fees and accommodation. On Monday, a coffee shop at the Howard College campus was torched. There have been talks between the SRC and university management, but no agreements have been reached. We end with this. Johannesburg Mayor Herman Mashaba has dismissed reports that he's planning to privatize Pick It Up. Mashaba says he's still considering how to fix the troubled waste management company. He says the process will be transparent and will include consultations with all stakeholders, including trade unions. Yesterday, COSATU threatened to challenge any attempts by Mashaba to privatize Pick It Up. The South African Municipal Union has also echoed the same sentiments. If you've missed any of our stories, you can find us on Twitter and Facebook. That's at eNews Direct, or you can head on over to our website. That's enca.com/direct. We've got your business news as well as your weather after this. Do stay with us. Money matters now, and infighting between South Africa's Treasury and state-owned enterprises is causing waves in the market. Africa's biggest private fixed-income money manager, Future Growth, says it will stop lending money to the country's parastatals, for now at least. Earlier this month, Future Growth raised concerns about Eskom's reluctance to commit to any new purchase agreements in the renewable energy sector. Future Growth says it's already shelved plans to loan 1.8 billion rand to 3 state-owned entities this year. The companies affected are Eskom, Transnet and the Industrial Development Corporation of South Africa. The fund manager says it will only resume offering loans and rolling over existing debt once it sees signs of proper oversight and governance. Now, the Communication Workers Union has not fared well in its battle with 2 major telecommunications companies. In addition to its withdrawal of an interdict against MTN, the union has lost its court application to stop Telkom from going ahead with planned retrenchments. The Labour Court found there was no unfairness in the service provider's retrenchment process. It also found the union had failed to consult in good faith, describing it as confrontational and obstructionist. Meanwhile, MTN has welcomed the withdrawal of the union's interdict. CWU sought to halt the network operator from continuing with plans to outsource some of its call center facilities. And with that, let's see how the markets close today. Let's check in with the Weather Center. Here's Joel Guy.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Weather Center. We had clear skies across much of South Africa throughout Thursday, and once again this allowed for warm to hot afternoon temperatures in most places, but not so for the west coast where it was much cooler thanks to a lot of fog and low-level cloud that was blanketing these parts of the country ahead of this cold front which is set to hit our shores as we go through Wednesday night. Now the first day of spring is going to look more like this across South Africa. Clear skies for the eastern provinces. We will continue to see high cloud over the central and western interior. And the cold front we saw earlier is going to maintain rainy weather along the west coast and over southern South Africa. The wet weather could also spill into southern KwaZulu-Natal late on Thursday night. So KZN is going to stay mostly sunny and warm to hot for much of your Thursday. However, we are going to see rainy weather setting in the evening over the southern areas. In the Eastern Cape, it's going to be mostly cloudy with rain in the afternoon and towards the evening hours along the coastal areas and adjacent interior where highs in the lower 20s are expected. It's going to be mostly sunny and warmer for the northern parts of the province. The Western Cape is going to be mostly cloudy, wet and chilly in most areas. Cape Town peaking at just 16, the same for Hermanus, Worcester and Langaban. Partly cloudy skies are forecast for the western areas of the Northern Cape, mostly sunny for the eastern areas with high level cloud. Kimberley peaking at around 30 degrees. We could also see high clouds spilling into the western parts of the Free State, Bloemfontein and Forest Smith, warming to around 28 degrees. A sunny spring day is forecast for you across the northwest where highs in the upper 20s are forecast in most places. It's also going to be sunny once again across much of Limpopo, Polokwane, warming to 25, a hot 32 for the top temperature in Musina. Clear skies are also forecast across Mpumalanga with warm to hot temperatures forecast across much of the province. We are going to stay with sunny weather for Gauteng, Pretoria, reaching a high of around 28 degrees. A sunny Friday is forecast across much of South Africa, but it's going to stay cloudy with rain between East London and George. And on Saturday, we are going to see drizzly weather around East London, Port Elizabeth and George.
Thank you, Joel. After the break, controversial R&B superstar Chris Brown is back in the spotlight after being arrested on suspicion of assault with a deadly weapon. Welcome back. R&B superstar Chris Brown has been released on bail after being arrested for pulling a gun on a woman.
Yep, more trouble. This is not the first time Brown has been at the center of a controversy.
Drama keeps following this R&B idol. Chris Brown is famous for churning out hits, but he's also known to stir up trouble. In 2009, he was accused of assaulting his then-girlfriend musician Rihanna. Soon after that, he was investigated for criminal battery after fighting with singer Frank Ocean. In the latest incident, he was arrested on suspicion of assault with a deadly weapon. His accuser claims Brown pulled a gun on her while she was a guest at his home, allegedly over jewelry.
I saw this male who was selling these diamond watches and the diamond necklaces, and that's when I saw the diamond cross necklace, and of course I'm gonna admire it. And I don't know if it was his friends who kind of triggered Chris, but he said, "Don't go near the diamonds," started calling me names, saying, "Get the F outside, go back outside." And then that's when Chris kind of went off and said, "What did I tell you, girls? I've been telling you over and over again." And then he pulled out the gun and he said, "Get the F out of here."
A day-long standoff ensued with the police before Brown was arrested. The 27-year-old lashed out at the police and insists he is innocent.
Good luck. When you get the warrant or whatever you need to do, you're going to walk right up in here and you're going to see nothing, you idiots.
The singer has since been released on bail of 3.6 million rand.
A reminder of the day's top stories before we say goodbye. Eskom boss Brian Molefe defends the parastatal's coal contract with Gupta-owned firm Tegeta. Nelson Mandela Bay and Ekhuruleni mayors outline ambitious proposals during their first multi-party council meetings. And that's a wrap from the eNews Direct team.
Until next time, good night.